Hello, distance learners. I'd like to thank you. The Academy has presented me with the Best Actor Award in Math Series 2020. And I'd like to take this. I'd like to thank all my distance learners out there for this award. I'd also like to thank all of the classes here at the school for sitting through and bearing with me and supporting me in this. I'd like to also thank administration here. I'd like to thank my family. I'd like to thank everyone. And enough said, thank you for the award. Now, I'm going to try and get the Social Studies Award too. And so for right now, we are going to be doing the Southern Colonies, Part 1. This is for week 15. We have already read it, and the distance learners should have already read it. You have a test on this on Friday, and so I hope that you were paying attention. In this is one of my favorite ones because it's talking about the South. And in the South, my son went to a college called Oglethorpe University. Oglethorpe University is named after the person that founded Georgia, James Edward Oglethorpe. Okay? They even have a statue of him at the school. Oglethorpe made a few decisions when he set up the colony of Georgia. How did he get workers there?
People that were in jail, they came over and then they started working for him.
He pulled people out of jail and brought them over. And they were working for him as what is called indentured servants. Okay? Indentured servants is not a slave, because a slave never will be free. Okay? And Oglethorpe didn't believe in slavery, but he brought these people over. Now, he wasn't bringing over hardened criminals. He was bringing over people that didn't pay their taxes, pay their bills, things like that. And he was getting them out of what prison? What kind was it called? Do you remember? It was called debtor's prison. In other words, people that owed. They were in debt to somebody. Okay? And he was pulling them out of debtor's prison. Okay? Yes?
Didn't they have to work in their farm or something for 7 years?
Yes, they had to work. Once, what happened was Oglethorpe paid for that. He took them out of prison, which helped the king because then the king wasn't having to pay, for food and guards to watch them and all this. And it freed up some jail cells for people that were committing crimes. So he got them out. He had them sign a contract. And in this contract, he paid for their voyage over to the New World, over to here. Okay? In the contract, it said that they had to work anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And what the 5 to 7 years was to pay off the passageway over here. Okay? Oglethorpe had it set up to where the plantation or the farm that they worked on also gave them food, clothing, and a place to live. Now, after the 7 years was up, they would get a small piece of land for themselves. So it wasn't all that bad of a deal, but it got them out of prison over there, got them over here, and after the 7 years, the 5 years, however long it took them to pay off this debt, okay, then they were free. Okay? They were out of jail, they had a piece of land, they were free. Okay? But he got them out of debtor's prison, and he brought them over here. Now, because he didn't care for slaves, that sort of left it to where you couldn't have these huge plantations. So what that did for Georgia was that it caused the farming industry to have smaller farms. Okay, because they had to have something that they could control. Okay, if you had some huge farm, you wouldn't be able to plant everything. You'd have to have all sorts of workers, which sort of led to trying to get slavery in. And he did not want slavery. Okay? So that was one of the things there. And that's Georgia. Okay? Oglethorpe goes to Georgia. Okay? Later we're going to find out that we're going to go on and move to, what's next? We'll go to Maryland. Who was the person that started Maryland?
Sir Calvert, Lord of Baltimore?
Yes, Sir Calvert, Lord of Baltimore. Okay? Why did he want to come over? Why did he want to leave England? George?
He wanted to escape the religious rules of the Church of England.
He wanted to get away from the Church of England. Now, he set up Maryland. And he invited people to come to Maryland. On what basis? What was it that they had to be?
Christian, as long as you were a Christian, you were accepted in Maryland.
Yes, as long as you were a Christian. Okay? He didn't take in the Jewish people, and he didn't take in people that didn't believe in Christ. Okay? That had no religion at all. Okay? As long as you were a Christian, come on in. Let's move on to the Carolinas. The Carolinas back at this time were not North and South Carolina. It was just one area, and they hadn't split it into North and South yet. It was all the Carolinas. Now, in the Carolinas, they had what were called cash crops. And what were they? Josh, or Joseph.
One was tobacco. One was rice, and one was indigo.
Yep. As well as you're reading there. As well as,
Cash crop.
yep,
Turpentine.
turpentine.
The oil that comes from trees. Olive oil and soap.
Yep, those were all the cash crops. Okay? Now, turpentine, that's an oil that comes from trees. Usually, people use that now for cleaning up paints and things like that. If you're painting the outside of the house and you're using an oil-based paint, you can't wash it off with soap and water, okay? And so you have to use turpentine, and that will, you stick it in there and it will bring off the paint. That way you can reuse the brush another day, okay? But that's one of the things that it's used for. But this is what the Carolinas were known for. Also, they had the people that were in the southern part of the Carolinas, the coastal areas. What were those people called that were in the coastal areas? I told you about this before because it was in the low country. What was it? Gullas. These were the Gullah people. Where were they from?
North Carolina?
Nope. Where were they from originally?
Virginia?
Nope.
Maryland?
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
The Caribbean island of Barbados?
Barbados. Caribbean island of Barbados. They were brought in, okay? Then we had Virginia. Virginia was one that had, has a lot of history there. They grew a lot of crops. They also were known for, they had what was called the House of Burgesses. This was one of the first government places that they started in one of the colonies. But you're gonna need to know that. If we were to start, if you look in the middle of your paper, if you were to start at the top of the colonies in the South, what is the first one? Sasha?
Georgia?
At the top. That would be the north part. What's the northernmost one? Lucas? Maryland. Then go heading south, we would run into what, Lucas? Look at your map. Virginia, then, and then, so which is the one that's the furthest north? North? That's the top. Which would it be? Maryland. Which is the one that's at the bottom or the south? Georgia. Georgia's at the very bottom, they're at the southern part. There, everybody see that? Okay? Adam, it would help if you would look. Now, the Indians in Georgia, why did they mistrust the colonists? Why was it that they mistrusted them? Jackson?
Because the Europeans had come in and like killed some of them.
Yes, who? Who? I got 4 people that figured it out already. Who? Look in the Georgia section. Who was the explorer? Charlie?
James Edward.
Oglethorpe? Nope. Kelly, you started to put your hand up.
I did what Charlie said now.
Oh, Dante?
King George.
Nope. George?
The Spanish and the person that came was De Soto.
Hernando de Soto. This was a long time ago. Okay? And when he came through, these Indians still remember it. So since they still remember it, they don't trust them. Now, what is that quillery? What is it? Kellen? Is what? Not making silk.
So the people, they didn't have a lot of paper, so they only found little like strips of it, so they would like curl it up and make cushions.
Yes, and they were not wanting to waste paper. Okay, and so they would take what scraps that they had, twirl it, and they made the flowers, like the flower that you see there, the leaves, all of that is made through just scraps of paper. Okay? Now, if I were to ask you about the Southern Colonies market, okay, and we were to talk about it, what kind of a market economy did they have? And this is going to be right before you read about Georgia. Most colonists came to the southern colonies to make money in the what economy? Nope. Charlie?
Southern colonies?
Nope, they came there, but what kind of economy? Market economy, okay? This wasn't controlled too much by government, okay? It was wide open. All right, Dante?